I've been hearing from researchers in Massachusetts and across the country about actions taken by Trump and Musk that are slowing down research into Alzheimer's, stroke, cancer, and our mental health crisis. One PhD researcher who is working on finding better treatments for depression to prevent suicide said hiring and funding freezes have, quote, stalled their research and will stall the development of safer therapies for depression by years. A Massachusetts doctor and mentor for biomedical researchers says that Trump's executive orders and Musk's Doge minions are leading us to face, quote, an enormous brain drain, as there is little confidence that these institutions will be able to function normally. This doctor is thinking about leaving the country, which would mean the United States cedes ground in the fight to lead the world in biomedical innovation. A cancer researcher at the University of Massachusetts said the Trump administration's cuts to NIH will, quote, send progress in curing human disease down the drain. A professor of medicine and science working on improving care for Americans with dementia had their grant review meeting with NIH abruptly canceled without any plans to reschedule because of this administration's funding freezes. This will delay research by several months at least, and inconsistent funding will mean layoffs and disruption to services that improve care at nursing homes. And just this week, I received copies of letters sent to researchers who received funding from the NIH to study Alzheimer's disease and improving support for caregivers and to study how to improve mental health care in primary care settings. The letters terminated funding for these studies, stating, quote, the premise of the grant is incompatible with NIH priorities because the study explicitly included LGBTQ people. And without this funding, grant recipients will now be forced to stop research to address the mental health crisis and Alzheimer's disease. People who have committed their lives, doctor, to these efforts will lose their jobs. By unanimous consent, I submit these letters for the record, Mr. Chairman.
Without objection.
Doctor, in your testimony, you stated that you want to encourage free speech and dissent among scientists. In the spirit of free speech and dissent, will you commit here today to object to any decision made by Donald Trump, Elon Musk, or Robert F. Kennedy that would slow or stop life-saving research?
Senator, I'm not involved in the decisions of the NIH up to now. If I'm confirmed, my commitment is to make sure that all the scientists at the NIH and all the scientists that receive funding from the NIH have the resources they need to do their life-saving research.
Will you object if it slows or stops life-saving research?
Senator, my interactions with the, Secretary Kennedy and President Trump to date suggest that they don't want to slow research. They want to speed it up.
So will you object if that becomes evident that they're slowing the research?
Senator, I have to say I don't believe that they are ever going to ask me to do that. I think they're committed to innovation and research.
Will you commit here today to reinstating funding for scientists whose funding has been terminated because their research does not align with MAGA ideology?
Senator, I don't believe that ideology ought to determine whether one gets research or not. I believe very fundamentally in wide diversity of
funding
research.
research on the mental health conditions of the LGBTQ community, that should not be a basis for canceling funding for research. Is that what you're saying?
Senator, I'd have to look. If I'm confirmed, I'll absolutely will go look at the letters are submitted for the record, so I can go look. But if confirmed, I'll go look carefully into that. I want to make sure that the processes that the NIH has
I appreciate that. On its face, of course, that is absurd, because they have mental health issues as well. So will you commit here today to do everything in your power to stand up for the American people and life-saving biomedical research in the face of the Trump attacks on scientific freedom?
Senator, I think I absolutely commit to focusing and supporting the research that advances the health of the American people. I don't agree with you, Senator, that the President Trump is opposed to that. In fact, quite the opposite. He is quite in favor of making America healthy, and fundamentally, the research that we do at the NIH will be
I'm being told by the researchers in Boston that they can't even hire their new trainees because the trainees who are brilliant aren't certain there's going to be a career because there won't be funding. So it's just the opposite. Trump is actually freezing, scaring, frightening the whole next generation of scientists who believe the funding won't be there for them. That's the problem that we're going to be confronting. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.